Hi, and welcome back to the History Hut. This is part 4 of our talk about Islam. And when we last spoke, we were talking about the challenge from Aisha on Ali. Now, after that, does he face any more armed risings?
Yes, actually he does. Muawiyah had refused to accept that Ali was Caliph. Muawiyah had been, of course, as a kinsman of Uthman. He had governed Syria for a long time, and he had a really strong army. And so he's, the next challenge, and Ali tries to resolve their differences, sends them letters and says, I'm looking for the assassins, it's okay, just pledge your loyalty to me. And Muawiyah says, I can't do that, not now. And eventually it's clear that this is going to have to be settled by a battle. So Ali met with Muawiyah in a battle, the Battle of Siffin, Siffin, in 657 AD, which would be 37 AH.
I was going to say 36.
Yeah, you were close. And Ali is actually on the verge of victory, it seems, when he's called on to agree to arbitration just as he's about to win. Now, the accounts of this are that Muawiyah, realizing that he might lose, had his men put the pages from the Quran on the ends of their spears to signal that this had to stop, and that it was the Quran that should be used to settle the dispute. And Ali wasn't very happy about this, but a lot of his followers thought that that was okay. So it's actually sent to arbitration. So it's sent to arbitration. Both armies withdrew, and the arbitration lasts until, I think, January of 658. And in the end, the arbitrators, and it's a long story, there's 800, 400 from each side, and then the two main arbitrators, but they decide that both men should stand down and a new election should be held, that it shouldn't be either one of them. But one of the arbitrators also said that he thought that Muawiyah's claim was better, so this is very, very disturbing. Now, at the same time, there's a more kind of tearaway group, a splinter group called the kharijites, and the kharijites are kind of really hardline, and they thought that Ali was wrong to go to arbitration and to listen to this, and that this was just all about these two characters and not about God at all. And so they decided that they were going to assassinate well, actually 3 people, but the 2 important ones for us are Muawiyah and Ali. And Ali's followers, of course, horrified when this happens. He's on his way into a mosque when he's killed, and this is in 661 AD. The attack on Muawiyah fails, and the attack on the third guy, he doesn't go where he's supposed to, so they miss him. So Ali is the only one assassinated, and so he's killed at Kufa, and he's buried at Najaf, and so Najaf is still a major pilgrimage site for the Shia, even in this day and age. And you quite often, when the pilgrimages are on, you quite often see accounts in the newspaper of people being killed or bombed, sometimes at the pilgrimage. So Ali's followers, then the Shiat Ali, the partisans of Ali, see him as, of course, as the man who should have been the immediate successor to Muhammad, and they call him the Imam. So he's seen as the Imam, the man from whom the leader of the faith should come. But the Sunni also respect Ali as the 4th of the rightly guided caliphs, al-Khalifa.
So in the end, Muawiyah's side wins?
Yes, that's a very, very good question. Do they win? Well, yeah, I suppose they do. You have to. There's a bit of a lineup. It's not a clear-cut win over the long haul, I suppose. On the one side, you have Ali and his sons Hassan and Hussein. So it would have gone Ali and to Hassan, and then probably to his son. And then on the other side, you have Muawiyah and his sons Yazid and little Muawiyah Jr., Muawiyah II. So you've got Muawiyah, Yazid, Muawiyah II. Ali is killed 661, and Hassan is declared Caliph, but he's pressured by Muawiyah and actually steps down. So Muawiyah does actually come out as the Caliph until his death in 680. He moves the capital out of Mecca and to his center of power, which is Damascus. And we'll see this again. The capital will move again with the next dynasty even further east to their stronghold, which is Baghdad. So Mecca and then to Damascus. He nominates his son Yazid as heir. There's a little bit of unease with this because of Yazid's character. So the focus switches, although in the short term Muawiyah's kind of won the day, the focus switches back to Hussein, who's Ali's other son. And Hussein, this is after the death of Muawiyah, Hussein raises an army and fights at Karbala, which is another name of a place that's in the news quite regularly. And he's killed at the Battle of Karbala along with his people. It's a massacre. So Karbala also becomes a Shia pilgrimage site, and the split into Sunni and Shia is now quite definitive.
So, have historians reached any conclusions about this first Islamic empire? Speaking from, yourself being a historian.
Well, there's, I suppose, that's a really good question, but it's a question I'd have to put off by for the moment, because you really have to look at what happens with the death of Muawiyah. And what emerges is, remember, they were from the Umayyad clan, so what emerges is from Muawiyah on the first real dynasty. So you've got the Prophet Muhammad, then you have the rightly guided Caliphate, and then you're going to have two dynasties. One is the Umayyad Dynasty, and the second is the Abbasid Dynasty, and then that would be the kind of end of what we would think of as the first Islamic empire. So the Umayyad Dynasty, there are different branches of the clan come to power. There's a number of civil wars amongst them as well. But once they sort out the civil wars, the expansion of the Islamic territory continues. They defeat the Berbers in Algeria in the 690s. They take Carthage in 698, and they invade Spain in 711. So really, the expansion is just, amazing. They also, if you were to look to the east, take some places that we've heard about when we were talking about the Mongols. They take Bukhara and they take Samarkand as well. And they also lay siege to Constantinople, but that's a bit of a failure. They Arabized the administration of all of these areas, and they also established new Islamic coins. So they don't use the Byzantine coinage anymore, the Byzantine model. And by the 690s, they've gone on an incredible building spree. They build the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. Absolutely amazing. You should Google the pictures, all of you. Google the pictures. The images are crazy. Another mosque in Jerusalem as well. It's quite famous. The Great Mosque at Medina, the Great Mosque at Damascus, the Umayyad Mosque, and others. There are problems though, because the Umayyads are becoming a little bit too rich. I mean, this is an amazing trading empire as well. They stop ruling by consensus, which isn't taken to very well. And they build lavish palaces, they decorate them lavishly. Some of the frescoes show naked women. That's not seen as very good. They have the modern day equivalent of Playboy rulers, so not really deeply religious men now as rulers. They had problems with local groups all through the empire, because remember, begins under Uthman with the placing of kin in high positions. So you might have a governor from the governor of Basra who's no connection to that place at all. So they're taking taxes out of the place, not putting it back into the infrastructure. People feel that they don't really know the administrators in their area. A series of civil wars break out again in the 740s. And so there's a loss of confidence, not in the faith, but a loss of confidence in the ruler. So all this stuff's kind of going on. And in the end, the first Islamic empire is really destroyed by our old friends, the Mongols. Huh. So you might remember back, I think I mentioned in 1258, but this isn't, before another dynasty with some corruption in it as well also emerges. And it comes out of the Civil War, or the Civil Wars in the 740s, when some of the Shia were preaching revolution, i.e. going back to a kind of purer time, and to the one branch of the Prophet's family that's included a descendant of the Prophet. And in this case, in the 740s, it was a man called Abul Abbas, who was related to the Prophet's uncle, I believe. And so in 747, what had started as a localized rebellion near Merv, which is close to when we were talking about the Battle of Talas, near Merv, this snowballs into something a lot more powerful. And this happens in 7449 when the army chose Abul Abbas as Caliph. And so you have this internal split. So now you have the Umayyads in charge, but you have a split from a group that says, we want to go back to the purer version of the faith. They march west and they defeat the Umayyad forces in about 750. And although Abbas dies about 4 years later, his brother Al-Mansur takes over and rules until 775. And he's a really, really good ruler, incredible guy, really capable. And we'll hear a bit more about him when we look at Islamic scientific achievements, because of course he's heavily involved as a patron of science. So when Damascus fell to Abbas in 750, all of the male Umayyads were to be tracked down and killed, but one of them escapes all the way across North Africa and sets up a Muslim kingdom in Spain. And this, of course, is the kingdom that lasts until the 11th century, and there are still Muslim communities in Spain until 1492, a date that you're more familiar with from when Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and Ferdinand and Isabella give Columbus the go-ahead to find a fast route to China, and he heads off and, of course, finds us. But this is also 1492, the year when Ferdinand and Isabella expel all Muslims from Spain, and they have to kind of leave all their stuff behind. The leader in this period is Abdul Rahman, and so there's actually a kind of outlier Umayyad dynasty in Spain, but everything else is going to be with the Abbasid dynasty. So what are the conclusions that you can make then about this first Islamic empire? Well, incredible intellectual vitality, and we'll see that when we talk about science. They continue to produce really good rulers, but historians see the seeds of decline as coming from this loss of central control. The empire is absolutely massive, and ethnic tensions never quite disappear, and there's lots of resentment by people for being overtaxed. People didn't see the rulers, so they didn't really care if he changed or not. There's all sorts of corruption at the top. The leaders become, as I mentioned, more like secular kings than anything else, and there's lots of promiscuity at court. The local rulers, the emirs, start to try and pass power down through their own families, so they become a kind of parallel source of power, and the result really is a fracturing of empire, and one side can't count on the other for help. So in 1258, when there's problems on the eastern borders, they call on Hulagu, one of Genghis's kids, and Hulagu comes in to help and keeps going to Baghdad and slaughters 80,000 at the gates of Baghdad, and really says, right, that's it, it's all over. But remember, the Mongols didn't like to stay places, so they left, but they left another Islamic group in control. So that's, technically seen as the end of the first Islamic empire. But the empire itself, of course, continues until the end. It's the Ottoman Empire now, and it continues till the end of World War I, until the Treaty of Sèvres breaks it apart into Turkey and all the constituent parts.
Well, and much like it will continue, so too will our discussion of Islam when we join you once again on the History Hut.
Bye.